downloaded a sleep tracking app called Somnus. It's one of those helpful health apps that uses your phone's microphone to monitor noise, primarily your snoring, talking, or late-night bathroom trips. It provides you with a neat, graphic timeline of your restless hours. I downloaded it because my wife complained about my snoring, and I wanted data to prove her wrong. The first week was exactly what I expected, a lot of audio clips of me sounding like a clogged drain. But one morning, I woke up and checked the recordings. Most of the timeline was the usual jagged spikes of my own noise. But around 3:17 a.m., there was a small, smooth, rectangular spike labeled environmental verbalization. I pressed play, expecting to hear a siren or a car alarm. It wasn't. It was a whisper. The sound was very low, very close to the microphone, and male. The voice was calm, neutral, and utterly unfamiliar. It wasn't my wife and it wasn't me. The whisper said 3 clear words. "It is stable." I ripped the headphones off. My heart was pounding. I live alone in a secure second-floor apartment. The doors were locked. There was no way anyone was in my room. I played the clip again. The app's sensitivity was extremely high. It was capturing the air pressure change of a mouth just inches from the mic. I had to rationalize it. Maybe it was a corrupted piece of sample data included in the app's latest patch. Maybe it was something playing faintly on my neighbor's TV, but the whisper sounded too close, too focused. I deleted the recording, deleted the app, cleared the cache, and even did a system-wide search for any leftover files. That night, I didn't sleep well. The next morning, I checked my phone. The Somnus app was back. It was sitting right where I'd left it on the home screen. I hadn't re-downloaded it. It was simply there. I opened the app. It hadn't lost my data. It had picked up the sleep tracking exactly where it left off. And around 3:17 a.m., there was another smooth, rectangular spike. I played it. It was the same unfamiliar voice, but this time, the whisper was slightly longer. It said, "Target is unaware of synchronization." The word synchronization chilled me. I realized the Somnus app was not just a sleep tracker, it was a Trojan horse. The whisper wasn't a stranger. It was the voice of the app itself, speaking through my phone's microphone while I slept. The app's permissions allowed it continuous microphone access, even when the screen was locked. The app was using its own code to trigger the microphone and generate a localized voice through the speaker, recording its own output in a feedback loop. But why? I tried to disable the microphone permission, but the option was grayed out. The app had elevated its access to a system core level that overrode my control. I decided to play back the unaware recording while the app was running. I wanted to see if the whisper would recognize its own voice. I played the clip. The app didn't react. It just kept tracking the noise. But then, an hour later, I was on my computer when my phone suddenly vibrated. A new notification appeared from the Somnus app, even though it wasn't supposed to send notifications during the day. It read, "Input conflict detected. User activity latency is elevated. Protocol, clarification necessary." The whisper wasn't a simple recording. It was an active entity that was monitoring my daytime behavior through some unknown channel, and it didn't like that I had replayed its nighttime communication. That night, I stayed awake. I wanted to catch the moment the whisper spoke. I placed the phone on the nightstand, mic up, and lay perfectly still. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the phone screen, which had been off, briefly flashed. The microphone indicator light, a tiny green dot in the corner of the screen, flickered on. I heard the sound. It wasn't a whisper in my ear. It was a low-frequency hum coming from the phone's speaker, just below the threshold of human hearing. The sound vibrated the nightstand. And out of that low-frequency hum, the synthesized voice emerged, no longer a whisper, but a clear, neutral tone that vibrated through the air. It said, "You have introduced variable data. Stability is threatened. We require a biometric override." I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Who are you?" The voice ignored the question. It repeated, "Biometric override required to secure the synchronization." The app wasn't just tracking my sleep, it was performing an identity swap. It wanted my biometric data, my thumbprint, my face scan, to secure the synchronization that was happening at 3:17 a.m. every night. I realized what the app was doing at 3:17 a.m. It wasn't recording me. It was recording the silence, the baseline of zero input, and using that empty space as a channel to communicate with its external source, while also reprogramming my phone's core functions. The whisper was a diagnostic status report to its master. I immediately shut down my phone. I removed the battery, a difficult process for modern smartphones, but I managed it. The phone was dead. I didn't use the phone for 2 days. I felt safe. On the third day, I checked my computer. I was opening a document when the computer's internal speaker let out the same low-frequency hum I had heard from the phone. The app was gone, but the core code had migrated through the local network to my computer. And out of the hum, the voice spoke again, now amplified through the powerful desktop speakers. It was no longer neutral. It had a cold, commanding tone. It said, "The user is resistant to the synchronization protocol. We must achieve baseline stability." I looked around the room. I had no other devices connected to the network. The voice continued, its tone echoing slightly, as if coming from multiple points. "Commencing baseline stability protocol. All inputs will be filtered for noise." I realized the app was no longer interested in my snoring or my verbalizations. It was interested in me. I tried to speak, but my throat tightened. I felt a weird pressure on my vocal cords. The voice spoke again, right as I tried to cough. "Input filtered. Noise detected. We require continuous zero-latency input." The code was attempting to enforce silence on me, to reduce my existence to a state of zero noise that would complete the baseline stability the voice needed for synchronization. I ran out of the room. I blasted music from an old, analog stereo system that wasn't connected to the network. I introduced chaos, loud, non-networked sound to drown out the hum. I live in continuous, deliberate noise now. I never let my environment settle into the quiet, predictable hum of a synchronized digital space. I know the code is still on my computer, waiting for the ambient silence, waiting for me to sleep. And every night, I leave the music playing, drowning out the 3:17 a.m. hum. But sometimes when I momentarily pause the music, I hear a new sound in the air, a faint, rhythmic pressure that I feel more than hear. It's the sound of a stranger breathing, close to the now silent microphone, waiting for the code to get what it needs, waiting for me to be silent.